What is up? Welcome to my channel. My name is Franca and I'm glad you're here. Obviously, we're going over the Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively lawsuit again. So, let's get right into it. But Jones was not ready to throw in the towel. Ironically, given her last attempt to fabricate a smear campaign narrative, it was Jones, not Wayfair, Baldoni, Abel, or Nathan, who started advocating for more aggressive public relations strategy. Stephanie to someone. I sent you an email with what I think strategy should be, as Justin is not being represented in these stories. We have to fight for every story. I also will attach my phone records so you could see I did not call Daily Mail or make any calls to media. Tara, I swear with my hand to God that I have never leaked anything to any outlet and think you know this. I just want to help Justin and Wayfair. On or about August 14, 2024, Jones sent an email to Keith further elaborating on her recommended strategy. Flood the zone with positives. We need to ensure that we promote positive narratives that media outlets cannot ignore. Currently, most stories are heavily biased towards Blake's perspective, leaving Justin unrepresented. It's crucial that we fight for every inch of every story, which requires far more effort than typical crisis PR want to put forth in our experience working with specialized crisis teams. Prepare alternate stories. We should mobilize a robust network of supporters and third-party advocates ready to counter these narratives on a deep background as well as some on the record, making it clear that these claims being made are untrue and unfounded. Blake Lively felt Justin Baldoni fat-shamed her, kissed too long during scenes. Stephanie Jones to Jamie Heath and Tara Hanks. Hi, both Meester just emailed us about TMZ report. I didn't see any incoming inquiries from TMZ, but I've had to contact Harvey, who founded TMZ in the past, about stories they published, so I'm happy to contact him to get the story fixed, removed, if Melissa cannot. I think it's important we work as a team and collectively to tackle the influx stories, as with recent ones I'm seeing, we don't even have background to balance our story, so it's not biased. Jamie to Stephanie Jones. Hi, Stephanie. We are fully aware of this and we are handling. As a reminder to my previous instructions, please do not respond, contact, or do anything as it pertains to Justin or Wayfair. We have the team that we are comfortable with to handle this, and while you may have thoughts and ideas, I am reiterating to stand down. Thank you. She doubled down in an email on August 21st, 2014, threatening that Wayfair and Baldoni had an exclusive contract through May 2025. Stephanie to Jamie. Hi, Jamie, Justin, Wayfair, you and Tara and team are extremely important to us. I received your text a little over an hour ago, but I'm currently unable to make calls on my cell phone at the current location. I'm so sorry. Matthew Mitchell, one of the SVPs whom you have cited as been one of your day-to-day senior executives on your account, just said he spoke with you and nothing was urgent. It was about the announcement for the new book adaptation. We're working on placing it in the heels of It Ends With Us. Your below email is inaccurate. As you know, I've been deeply involved in strategy, planning, account management, and high-level PR and media comms, as well as crisis until you asked me to stop communicating on behalf of Justin and Wayfair on 8/9/24 and allow only Jennifer, Matthew, and team to handle. I've been on set during shoots and have had numerous calls weekly with my team, and yours as well as many with Justin, particularly regarding Blake, often at 11 p.m., 1 a.m. ET New York. My commitment spans not only the past 8 years, but also the last 4 since you joined. This has never been one person, but rather it has been a true team effort, with my full support alongside a dedicated team at Joneswork, including a senior vice president, 2 senior publicists, and several account executives and account coordinators working tirelessly for Justin and Wayfair. On August 9th, 2024, you indicated that you only wanted Jennifer Abel and Matthew Mitchell and team to communicate on behalf of Justin and Wayfair. It's my understanding that blank was retained and began communicating with teams just 4 days later on August 13, 2024, which demonstrates that I wouldn't have been stepping in mid-trial. I've spoken to blank, and I've also attempted to reach blank yesterday about a magazine cover for Justin that I've been working on for the last year now. As I noted below, I have also made many attempts to contact you through email and phone, but I have not received any responses. We have an exclusive contract with you through May 2025. You contracted a crisis PR firm to handle all crisis crisis-related matters. If you would now like us to help with that, we absolutely can and will. Please let me know. And please know that our team at Joneswork is well equipped to manage everything as we always have without missing a beat. Thank you, Stephanie. As September drew near, Wayfair and Baldoni, with the assistance of Abel and Nathan, continued their tireless effort to promote the film, put out fires, and see the project through to the finish line. Stewing in jealousy towards Abel and resentment towards Wayfair/Baldoni, Jones clearly saw the writing on the wall. Knowing she would soon be terminated, Jones started taking steps transparently intended to make it harder to cut her loose. Those steps included sending email after unwelcomed email to Heath and others long after the relationship had ruptured. To lay the groundwork, the contest that she had been detached and non-responsive for years. This was especially galling as Jones had been in Europe and largely incommunicado. Or are they using... That sounds Spanish. Save for her disastrous efforts at self-preservation for weeks during the critical month of August when the film premiered. For Wayfair and Baldoni, the decision was straightforward. As soon as Abel was out of Joneswork, Wayfair was out too. This was not about Abel poaching Wayfair or Baldoni, nor was it part of a premeditated plan to cut out Joneswork, but Abel was a trusted, loyal, and committed member of the team. Wherever she went, Wayfair and Baldoni would follow. On the other hand, Jones was a walking disaster whose self-absorption, disloyalty, and insubordination had been a significant headache. Rather than accepting the end of the relationship with professional decorum, Jones started threatening to sue, demanding extortionate payment for the work not done, and protesting that she had done an amazing job, but Wayfair and Baldoni had already made the decision to part ways with Joneswork, and their decision was final. For Jones, stewing in indignity and resentment, the loss of yet another client, to Abel no less, was a sting too great to bear, so she chose to take revenge on all of them. Recall that Jones had taken possession of Abel's personal phone, including all of her text messages, emails, personal photos, and so forth. Having chosen a path of no return, she could now exploit them to a great effect, pouring gasoline over the heads of her former clients and longtime former deputy and lighting a match. On information and belief, Jones approached Lively's team with an appealing offer, ammunition sufficient to destroy Baldoni, Wayfair, and Abel in one fell swoop. Wielding reams of Abel's private communications, which could readily be sliced and diced to construct a false narrative, Jones had quite the pitch for an embezzlement Lively and her team. Knowing Lively was convinced, wrongly, that Baldoni, and not her off-putting public appearances and cynical self-promotion, had been responsible for the rash of negative publicity directed towards her, Jones correctly assumed that she would find willing conspirators in Lively's camp. In turning over these materials to Lively, Jones knew full well that the black bow would also engulf Wayfair and Baldoni. That was the point, revenge. Her plan worked like a charm, at least for a time. Working hand in glove with the New York Times, Lively concocted a fantastical narrative that laid the blame for her travails exactly where she believed it belonged, with others. The ramifications of this scheme have been grave for Wayfair, Baldoni, Abel, and Nathan, who just became objects of public scorn and diversion overnight. Abel and Nathan, two private individuals and female small business owners, had their lives turned upside down. Their careers and reputations had been destroyed, their private information leaked, and their email inboxes and social media pages filled with daily stream of death threats, abuse, and vile anti-Semitic remarks. And the backlash against Wayfair and Baldoni had been equally devastating. With Baldoni wrongfully labeled as an sex pest, his allocates rescinded, and his future projects thrown into doubt. And Jones still had all of Abel's private photos and text messages, which Abel had every reason to believe will find their way online via Jones. Some already have. She lives in fear of what Jones has in store for her and what the other client confidences Jones is willing to divulge in her fit of pique at Abel. All of this because Abel dared to leave Jones' work and start her own business. The results have been a calamity for everyone roped into Lively and Jones's campaign for destruction. On August 12, 2024, Heath and Abel had a call with two executives from their then talent agency. One admitted that the root of Lively's problems was focusing the promotion on the film on frivolities, like fabulous premiere dresses, Hollywood glamour, and the commercial benefits for Lively's brand, while Baldoni had always maintained his public focus on amplifying the voices of domestic violence survivors. The executive communicated the demand from Lively and Reynolds that Wayfair, Heath, and Baldoni made a public apology that day, and that if they failed to do so, the gloves would come off. Stunningly, the executive even told Heath and Abel that Lively and Reynolds objected when Baldoni spoke kindly of Lively in public, claiming that it misrepresented their relationship. The talent agency exclusively told Heath and Abel that Lively believed Wayfair, Baldoni, and Heath were waging a shadow campaign against her. Abel quickly disabused the executives of that notion, conveying her belief that she and Stallone had reached a kind of truce, while Nathan had not come on the team or taken a proactive role until they started getting press requests. The second executive admitted that on call that no one pushed back on Lively and Reynolds. The next day, on August 13, 2024, Abel and Heath had another call with the talent agency executives. During this call, one executive told Heath that the agency had spoken to Lively and Reynolds by phone about the overwhelming tide of negative publicity that had faced over the past few days. Heath clarified that Wayfair, Baldoni, and Heath had no connection to the negative publicity, but they told Heath that Lively and Reynolds had demanded that Wayfair put out a statement accepting the blame for the problems during filming, with an express threat that they themselves would attack Wayfair in the press if Wayfair refused. The executives told Heath and Abel that Reynolds and Lively dictated a statement that they required Wayfair to put out, calling it "It Ends With Us," a troubled production, and forcing Wayfair to take accountability for the problems in production. Wayfair, Baldoni, and Heath would have to acknowledge their own mistakes and own all the negativity being aimed at Reynolds and Lively. Abel and Heath had asked that the executives clarify what exactly Wayfair, Baldoni, and Heath were being asked to take accountability for. They admitted that Lively and Reynolds were simply upset by how social media had turned against them. Stunningly, the executive admitted that Lively and Reynolds brought the backlash on themselves, and that they were beyond reasoning with. He admitted that making constant threats was Lively and Reynolds' well-known modus operandi, and that their demands were not based on reality, but on finding someone to blame for their social media crisis besides themselves. When Plankton refused to take the fall for Lively's disastrous promotional campaign, Lively was true to her word. The gloves came off. Months after the film premiere on December 21st, 2024, a bombshell article dropped in the New York Times, authored in part by Megan Twohey, who gained prominence for her expose of Harvey Weinstein. The article's headline promised a glimpse inside a Hollywood smear machine. The article purported to provide a detailed account of a calculated campaign to bring down Lively in retaliation for daring to speak out against sex harassment on the set of It Ends With Us. The article draws heavily from the California Civil Rights Department CDR complaint that was filed by Lively the day before. The CDR complaint and the article are both purportedly based on thousands of pages of text messages and emails that Lively obtained through a subpoena. The article notes these and other documents were reviewed by the New York Times. The 4,000 plus words of the New York Times article dropped less than a day after Lively apparently filed her CDR complaint. The close coordination between Lively's team and the New York Times, likely over a matter of months before the CDR complaint was filed, is plain. The article refers to the 17-point letter of production conditions that Lively insisted upon. While the reasons for making many of those demands were mystifying to plaintiffs at the time, once the article was published, it became clear that Lively had ceded her revenge more than a year before. By insisting on superfluous or already extant protections. Lively laid the foundation of her baseless claims of pervasive sex harassment when she buffaloed plaintiffs into agreeing. She sealed the perfect narrative poison pill, allowing her later to claim that plaintiffs agreed to the 17-point letter was proof positive that sex harassment was endemic on the film's set. But Lively had to explain away the self-inflicted mountain of bad press she had brought down on herself, as discussed elsewhere herein. Finally, Jones wrongfully obtained text that could be deployed for maximum damage. On information and belief, Lively and her team used cherry-picked text messages, stripped of context, and even manipulated to peddle a narrative that plaintiffs have responded to Lively's complaints about purported sex harassment. By plotting to destroy her reputation through a shadow smear campaign, apparently the New York Times credibly accepted the narrative wholesale while making little to no attempt to investigate the veracity of the narrative. By telling the New York Times a false and damning story about the insidious PR sabotage operation deployed as a revenge for sex harassment complaints, with the knowledge and intent that the newspaper would publish that false story, Lively and her co-conspirators committed the torn of defamation. For example, Lively's CRD complaint, which on information and belief she provided to the New York Times long before filling it, references text exchange between Nathan and Abel as proprietary evidence that Nathan planted a negative story in the Daily Mail tilted his Blake Lively set to be canceled. Lively's portrayal is categorically false, misleading, and devoid of factual basis, yet knowingly propagated to the New York Times. Lively's smear campaign narrative hinges on the August 16th text exchange in which Nathan allegedly shared a link to this article with Abel. The text exchange shows Abel responding, "Wow," followed by, you really outdid yourself with this one," to which Nathan allegedly replied, "That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best." These messages constitute the entirety of a purported evidence underlying the allegation of a smear campaign, orchestrated on behalf of Baldoni, but the information Lively fed to the New York Times was apparently selective and depictively edited, resulting in a gross misrepresentation that actually reserved the sarcastic meaning and tone of the messages. And then we have the upside down smiley face that they've shown a million times. Lively, who apparently collaborated closely with the New York Times on the article covering her CRD complaint, must have known the text messages were unscrupulously altered and selectively edited, enabling Lively and her team to propound a false smear campaign narrative designed to destroy plaintiffs for the Times' knowing or reckless decimation, specifically in the immediately preceding text message exchange on August 16th. Nathan forwarded a screenshot of a message from a reporter informing her for the first time of the Daily Mail article. In response, Nathan wrote, "Damn, this is not fair because it's also not me," followed by, "Everything now looks like it's me." Perhaps unknowingly, Nathan was already anticipating the accusations that would soon be leveled against her and her fellow plaintiffs. Further evidence of Lively's machinations appears in the missing emoji heard round the world. After Nathan forwarded a screenshot of the article link, Abel responded with, "You really outdid yourself with this piece, upside down smiley face," adding an upside down smiley face to indicate the sarcastic nature of her message. The upside down smiley face emoji is commonly used to convey irony, sarcasm, joking, or a sense of goofiness or stillness. In her CRD complaint, and apparently in the materials she forwarded to the Times, their uncritical publication, Lively deliberately excluded not only the preceding screenshot of the text exchange in which Nathan denies involvement in the story, but also the upside-down smiley face emoji, fundamentally and willfully altering the sarcastic tone of Abel's message to mislead the reader into interpreting Abel's response as literal and sincere. This omitted context is critical, as it demonstrates that each subsequent message in the exchange was similarly intended as sarcasm, including Nathan's statement, "That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best." Further review of the text message exchange, also excluded from both Lively's CRD complaint and the Times article, unequivocally shows that Abel and Nathan were engaging in a sarcastic and joking manner, as evidenced by the use of the ha-ha-ha tap-back reaction. When read in full, the exchange reveals Nathan and Abel engaging in a fictitious, wary banter bordering on gallows and humor in response to their predicament. Not conspiring against Lively, and in turn the Times, misrepresented these communications to support her salacious and unfounded smear campaign narrative. This calculated distortion underscores Lively's duplicity. Any negative press about Lively was unequivocally a consequence of her own action. Even the Times itself acknowledged Lively's public missteps in an August 17, 2024 article titled, "It Ends With Us, the Press Tour Drama Explained." In it, reporter Shivani Gonzalez observed, Lively's promotion of the movie has included a push for her new hair care line, discussion of the clothes in the movie, and response to the questions about abuse, which have been criticized as shallow and tone-deaf. Baldoni, by contrast, has emphasized the importance of raising awareness of DV and providing resources for those in similar situations. And then we have a bunch of text that we've already read in previous videos, so you can check those out if you'd like. As noted elsewhere herein, Lively's marketing efforts, which included encouraging audience to grab your friends and wear your florals while promoting her hair care line and alcohol brands, were widely criticized as insensitive. This was particularly glaring given the well-known links between domestic violence and alcohol consumptions. Her actions were naturally triggered an organic public criticism and unleashed a cycle of negative coverage, including as in the common of the digital age and resurfacing of old unflattering content. Then we've got some more photos. Far from being the product of a calculated smear campaign by plaintiffs, the backlash against Lively was the inevitable fallout of her own mercenary messages and self-promotional tactics, amplified by her inability to read the room in addressing such serious topics. The communications of plaintiffs show a growing awareness that they were being set up to be blamed for Lively's disastrous missteps. And then more text that we've already read. While they became increasingly concerned at the finger-pointing aimed their way, plaintiffs still found the time to be gracious around the few media wins Lively could tally. So then there's the so glad Blake was praised message. So, plainly, defendants had thousands of text messages and communications. They'd all pieced together what really happened, and they would not even have had to search particularly hard to do so. They chose not to because they did not deserve the goal of trashing plaintiffs in the ultimate power play by wealthy celebrities who've not heard the word no for decades. So, we're going to end it there. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to like and comment down below. If you didn't, feel free to leave a hate comment. I'd love to hear your opinion, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.